How are we doing? It's great lunch, right? Yes. Once again, life forward. Okay, so I am here to introduce our keynote speaker. Our keynote speaker is the Associate Provost for the Instruction of Online Learning at Sullivan University in Louisville, Kentucky. He has published 5 books in distance education. He's got well over 70 plus articles, chapters on topics of educational technology and distance education. He's got 32 years in the field of education technology. He is, 2 of the most important things in his life are his marriage and his 6 children, which is wonderful. The other thing that is really important to him, he's been playing guitar for 45 years. 45 years.
No wonder you get along.
I asked him, why didn't you bring your guitar? And he said, well, you can't really carry it around. But maybe next time we'll figure something out. Anyway, once again, our keynote speaker is Anthony Piña, and he is here to, Anthony Piña, and he's here to talk about open education resources. Please give him a welcome.
Okay. Oh, okay, I'm on. And you can hear me at the camera. Excellent, excellent. So let me see, can you open up? Uh-huh. And do F5, yeah. So we can start here. While you're being amused by that, I can tell you that 2 things have happened to me that are unique to this conference. This is my 215th conference presentation. And this is the first time that I have been, I guess, important enough to have actually 2 microphones on here. The other thing is, I have a ritual. I keep going in and out of this. Uh-oh. Yeah. 216. Okay. I have a ritual that I always do when I go to conferences. You know, when we go to conferences, we get these wonderful name tags. And so I have a ritual that I have to do at every conference. And so I get a pen, I pull out the name tag, and I put in the tilde over the end. This conference, I didn't have to do that. And yes, my name is Anthony Piña, like piña colada, sabor a piña. So yesterday when we were doing the workshops, they served piña, and I picked that up and I said, yes, you are what you eat. And so what I'd like to do for today is to address some things. Let's see, does our clicker work? I decided to talk about the conference theme, which is the art of leveraging resources. And so let me tell you just a little bit about me. Of course, you know, that was a wonderful opening obituary. I really appreciate that. You can read the rest of my obituary, on the site and all of that. But I oversee online learning and instructional innovation at my university, which is a small private university. We're probably about 1/5 or 1/6 the size of UTRGV. And we're right in Louisville, Kentucky, where they make the baseball bats and they run the horses and they make the bourbon. So, and I've been in this field for a long time. I love educational technology and all of that. I love distance education. It has been a part of my life for a long time. And at the very end, you'll know why. But also, I do have 6 children. We had 4 daughters, and people would ask my wife a very ridiculous question. They said, well, you've had 4 girls. Are you going to try for a boy? Now, I don't know if the technology exists to do that, but I love my wife's answer. She would say, no, we're going to try for another girl. We'll name her Yahtzee. But what we ended up doing is we ended up adopting a sibling pair, a brother and a sister. So we got our Yahtzee and we got our boy. And so we have our 6. That picture was taken about 10 years ago. So that little guy at the end, he's now taller than all of his sisters. He's about the same height as I am. And so, and then, yeah, these are my books, and yeah. And then up there is me trying to look cool playing guitar. So, now, why do we leverage resources? This is the art of leveraging resources. Why in the world do we do that? Because we take resources and we use something like computer or like OER or learning management systems, all kinds of things, so that those things can help us accomplish something, whether it's lifting up the world or something else. But really, the reason why we leverage resources is because of our students. We want to help meet their needs. And, you know, this keeps going out. I have 6 children. So I can use my voice, my dad voice, and I probably don't even need a PA or microphone. But, so if this thing goes in and out, then I'll switch to my dad voice. That works. And so our students are why we do this. But as leveraging, when we talk about the art of leveraging resources, really, are we talking about an art or are we talking about a science? Well, my answer to that really is yes. And let me tell you a little bit about the science side. In 2017, I was approached by my professional association to write a chapter about, interestingly enough, resources for for the standards for instructional design for distance learning for my professional association, the Association for Educational Communications and Technology, AECT. If you have instructional designers, they should all belong to AECT. It's wonderful. So I was the former president of the Division of Distance Learning at AECT. So they asked me to write this chapter. And some of the leaders in the field wrote other chapters about the other 9 standards. And they asked us, and later on, the person who was heading this up retired, and so they asked me to actually edit the book and all of that. So that was kind of nice. But they said, when you write your chapter, you need to justify the standard. And the standard talks about resources need to be multimodal and all of this other stuff. So in order to justify it, and they wanted to justify it with research. Well, that's science, the science of resources. So what I did is I went to really the guru when you're talking about resources and multimedia learning, and that's Richard Mayer at UC Santa Barbara, and has done a lot of really good stuff on multimedia research and what works and what doesn't. And so the science, I want to talk just a little bit about the science of leveraging resources before we get to the art of leveraging resources, which actually I think is more familiar. So one of the first principles, science principles, for leveraging resources is coherence. And the idea behind coherence is that you don't put a whole bunch of stuff up there that doesn't need to be up there. If you have extraneous video, audio, graphics, and all of this stuff that is not directly relevant to what you're teaching, you are actually going to impede learning rather than facilitate learning. So, another procedure has to do with modality. And basically, what modality means is just a way to say, hey, if you're going to narrate something, don't put the same text up there. A lot of the computer-based training things have really fouled this up. Because what happens is you have graphics or video or something like that, and there's a narration, and then they have the text of the video up at the same time. The reason we need that is for closed captioning, for people who can't hear the narration. If you can hear the narration and see the text, you're going to be interacting with those in different speeds because you read and hear at different speeds. So you're reading one thing and it's being dictated to you and it causes you to not remember it as well. So, having closed captions is great. Keep them off unless somebody needs to see them or unless somebody has some other things going on, you want to turn the volume down and just read it. But reading and dictating of the same text, bad stuff. Especially if you have video and audio going on at the same time. The next one is the Multimedia Principle. Multimedia Principle is very simple. Images and video are better than just text. Those of us who develop online, those of us who have taken online courses, know how much we love it when we say, okay, read the chapters in the textbook, and then go into the online course and into the lesson, and what is it? A whole bunch of more text to read. We know better. And the Multimedia Principle says we need to do better. So there's nothing wrong with text, but people tend to learn better when it also involves images, whether still images or motion images or video or audio. So then we have the Contiguity Principle. And the Contiguity Principle basically means that if you have images with text, put the text right in the image. Don't have the image over here and then have the text over here saying this stuff. So we see both of these a lot. But having the A, B, C, D and then having the list of the A, B, C, D over there is less effective, research-wise and retention-wise, than having the text actually locating and pointing to the items. So we have that. And then the other is redundancy. And redundancy is kind of related to that. If you're going to have on-screen text and narration, don't have them on at the same time. So either do on-screen text or do narration, but don't do them at the same time. So those are some of the scientific principles regarding how we leverage resources. However, science won't take us everywhere. There are limits to science. This is not any kind of a dig on science. Science gives us certain tools and certain techniques to answer a lot of very important questions. But anybody who tells you, oh, I guide my life by science, and I make all of my decisions based on science and evidence, is deluded. So many of our decisions that we make, and so many of the things that we do, the people who we affiliate with, marry, our political affiliations, our religious affiliations, and a lot of that. And accepting a position at this institution versus that institution, those decisions are usually not made by science. And so, what do we have? We have science, which tells us that those are oranges. And then we have the more art side that tells us, I like oranges, or I don't care for oranges. Science can't answer that question. Science can't say, do you like or not like? I mean, they can survey you about it, but they can't say, okay, you have these characteristics, therefore you're going to like oranges and you're not going to like oranges. There are limits to what we can do with scientific inquiry. And so here's one that's near and dear to my heart. Scientific inquiry or art-based inquiry. Who is the better guitar player? Yngwie Malmsteen or Carlos Santana? Now, if you look at a science-based approach, you can say, well, Malmsteen has a background in classical guitar, and he knows more scales, and he can play faster than Carlos. But I can listen to Yngwie, and I'm a guitar player. I can listen to Yngwie for about 5 minutes and then start getting really bored because you can only listen to for so long before it starts to sound all the same. But when Carlos plays, he plays a guitar solo that can almost stand by itself as its own melody. So, for me, you ask me who's better? Yngwie, yes, is more technically brilliant shredder, but Carlos is the much better guitar player and is the one who influences me much more than Yngwie, For all of you Yngwie Malmsteen fans, I'm very sorry, but Carlos is the better guitar player. That is a subjective and personal evaluative and personal critical thinking perspective, which is an art perspective, not a science perspective. So, I need to talk about OER because people say, he's going to talk about OER. So I'm going to talk about OER, but I'm not going to give the same workshop that I did yesterday on OER. I'm going to go into a little bit of the art and a little bit of the science so that you know why. Because that's the thing. Art answers why.
What does OER mean? I'm sorry.
Open Education Resources.
Okay, where's that from?
Open Educational Resources means that these are resources that are available to students without cost. So,
Us too?
absolutely. And so the idea behind OER is that instead of paying this amount for a textbook, you pay $0. So, in my university is on the quarter system. So we have a quarter that starts in January, quarter that starts at the end of March, quarter that starts at the end of June, and then at the end of September. So 4 11-week quarters. Well, from March 2015, we had a textbook, and this happened to be our Principles of Management textbook, that in March 2015 cost $283.28. And then we got the pricing from the bookstore as to what students were going to get charged the next quarter for the same book, same edition, same authors. This is not an update. This is not version 8 versus version 9. This is the same book. $335.84. Over $52 more from one quarter to the next quarter, just in a matter of months. This was my reaction. This was not a science-based reaction. This was definitely a reaction based on my subjective evaluation and critical thinking of the situation. This also, because the thing about science, with all the wonderful things that science can do, science cares nothing about whether something is fair. It only cares about whether it is. And so this was not fair. This was not right. And I was ticked. So I went to the provost, and we called a meeting of all the deans and lead faculty and said, this is not good. And so we did a task force, and they said, we want to do a pilot OER project. So we decided that we were going to do this, that we were going to show, not just do it, but we were also going to collect data. We were going to do the proper science to see whether this would work. So the first thing we needed to know is how experienced are our students with OER. And as you can see, not very. Neither were our faculty. Our faculty were not experienced at all. In fact, they were probably lower than the 8%. So what did we do? We said, okay, we're going to take two of our most popular courses, Intro to Management and Intro to Marketing. A lot of our degree programs take those courses. We're going to train our faculty in OER and Creative Commons and all of these other things, and where to go out and get this. We were going to have them work with our instructional designers to convert their courses from their traditional textbooks to free materials, free textbooks, and free instructional materials. And so because they were paying for textbooks, and a lot of them were paying extra money to go to the websites of the publishers to get PowerPoint presentations and practice quizzes and all of these other things. They said, no, we're going to all do free stuff. And so we did, and trained the faculty and had our IDs work with our faculty, had our librarians work. And I could go through the whole thing, but let me just tell you in a nutshell what happened. Not only did we save our students $335 per course, and we did a pilot with 311 students, and what we did is we took 2 quarters of data from the existing courses and 2 quarters of data from students taking the new courses, asking them about things related to course quality, the quality of their materials. Did they feel like they were learning as much? Would they recommend this course? Do they want other courses like this? Etc. And then we looked at things like grades and retention, and to make sure we weren't hurting our students. And what we found is that we weren't hurting our students. We had no higher retention, and we had equivalent grades between the two. But we saved our students a total of $200,000 that year in just those 2 courses. From all the students. That's $200,000, the majority of which they were getting from federal financial aid. So we were saving the government and us, you, the taxpayers, $200,000 a year for just those 2 courses. The students said the materials, the OER materials, were higher quality than the materials that they had been paying hundreds of dollars for. And so did our faculty. I said, what do you think of this OER versus that? I said, this stuff is better. But there's more. Students would be much more likely to recommend the OER courses. The students wanted more of them. The students even went on to say that if I knew that my courses are OER, I would be more likely to enroll at that university. If I knew that I wasn't going to have to pay all of this extra money beyond tuition for textbooks and course codes and all of that sort of stuff. Well, what about our faculty? The ones who were involved in developing this and teaching this, they said, I had no idea how shackled I have been my entire career because I've been using this textbook. The textbook dictates my curriculum. The textbook dictates the order in which I do my curriculum. I get the test banks from the textbook, so they control how I assess my students and all. And I would really love to be able to use multiple things, but if I'm already having them paying, $300+ for a textbook, I can't in good conscience have them buy 2 other textbooks because these other 2 actually have better things than the one. So I have to find the one that overall is the best, even if it's not the best individually. They said, I had no idea how much going to OER would free me. That was the word they kept saying, freedom. I felt free to develop things based solely on student learning outcomes, not because it was in Smith and Jones 9th edition. And so the faculty said this was better and that they wanted to do this more. They said, yes, it was a lot of work, but the results were so much better. And I had so much more fun teaching with these resources than I have with the vendor publisher resources. Now, what about our instructional designers? Because our instructional designers work with our faculty to create courses. And the instructional designers say, it is so nice not to have to be the bad guy anymore. Because we are the ones who are saying, we need more content in this. This is a 4-unit class. Students can go through this in about 2 hours. I mean, we need more stuff. And they said when we get pages and pages of Word documents with lecture notes and all of that. They said the quality of what we're getting from our faculty is so much higher. The amount of multimedia that we're getting from the faculty is so much better. And our relationship with the faculty is so much better because they now come to us to say, hey, I really want to do this kind of role-playing thing or this kind of case study analysis. Can you help me to find some resources that would facilitate that? Or, I really want to use this TED Talk. I love this TED Talk, but I'm not exactly sure what to do with it. And the instructional designers say, hey, you can do this and you can compare and contrast this and you can do that. And it's like, oh, thank you so much. And so our instructional designers and our faculty have become more partners because of this. Because the faculty are finding this OER, not having to create it. And they said it's so much nicer that, I don't have to put my lecture notes on there, and we're saying it's so much nicer that your students don't have to read your lectures either. I said I can find video materials, I can find audio materials, I can find tutorials, I can find all of this stuff. I can go to Merlot and find hundreds of things that have been peer-reviewed, written by faculty that are relevant to my course. And so everybody liked this stuff. Now, if you're interested, you can read about it in the Online Journal of Distance Learning Administration. We published our findings for our OER, and they were very kind to give us an award for best paper at the conference and publish it in OJDLA. If you're not familiar, if you have any kind of administrative role in online distance learning, stuff up beyond the classroom, this is the only journal, the only peer-reviewed journal that is exclusive to distance learning administration. They also do a conference every year in June, and it's just so difficult to go to this conference because it's in Jekyll Island, Georgia. And if you've ever been to Jekyll Island, Georgia, anyone going there, the response is, "Oh, poor baby, you get to go to Jekyll Island Resort? Oh, that's got to be real tough." No, it's beautiful. It's beautiful. And so, so you can read about that sort of stuff. Now, how do you leverage your art? How do you use your art to leverage resources? And honestly, the answer to that is the answer to this question. Oh, it's hard to. Oh, this picture was a lot clearer on my computer. Why do you do what you do? This is a picture of my parents and my sister. My father was born in Puerto Rico, and his family moved up to Connecticut when he was 11, and he learned English. And he should have really been a thug when he was growing up, because he had an alcoholic father, and he lost his mother to a house fire when he was a teenager. And so he lied about his age and joined the Navy at 17, and was discharged in California, and decided, why in the world am I going to go back to Connecticut and that cold? And fortunately for me, he met my mother. And you can't really see, but my mother is a blonde-haired, blue-eyed gringa, which is why I look like this. And my name is Piña. My father had a very successful career in law enforcement and went to school at night for many years. After working full-time during the day, he would go to school at night, and he earned 3 college degrees doing that. My mother was in healthcare and was involved in writing the very first certified medical assistance certification exams. She was taking a little slower route. And we were in Southern California. She was going to Cal State Long Beach. My dad got a job change up to the Fresno area. So my mother, who had almost finished her degree, went to Cal State Fresno and said, I need to take a few classes to graduate. They said, well, you have to take 30 credits because you have to establish residency at our institution. And so she said, but I don't need 30 credits to graduate. Yes, but you have to establish residency. I said, well, this was Cal State Long Beach. This is Cal State Fresno. No, separate. You have to establish residency. Okay, so she started taking classes. After a couple of years, my dad decided the job transfer was so that he could be a chief of police of a small town. And after realizing that a chief of police, you can't be a cop anymore, you have to be a politician, he said, I want to go back into law enforcement. So they moved to Palm Desert, California, Palm Springs. There was a branch campus of Cal State San Bernardino that offered exactly the same degree, a bachelor's in vocational ed. So my mother went down there and said, I want to finish my degree. And they said, you have to take 40 credit hours, because they were on the quarter system, so 4 unit classes. You have to take 40 credit hours in order to get the degree. And she said, in what? I have taken every course that you offer. They said, well, you have to establish residency, so you have to take 40 credit hours from us. Okay. So she started taking classes. And then in 1996, my mother contracted breast cancer. And she passed away in December 1996, before she was able to take and finish her last residency courses. So she was not able to complete her educational goals because of turf. 6 months later, I was approached by a faculty member at the college where I was, English composition. She wanted me to help her put the college's first online course together. So I did. And then I realized if my mother would have had online courses, she would have been able to finish her degree no matter where she lived and no matter where she worked. And I changed the emphasis of my career from in-class multimedia to distance education. And it's been my focus since 1997 because I don't want anybody ever to not be able to complete their educational goals for something to me as silly, and I understand why it needs to be, why it's there, but as silly as turf. And this technology gives us the ability that if they move away, I have a son-in-law who is now, he's a helicopter pilot, he is now in Korea with the Army. He can work on his degrees online. Both of my children, or my two oldest children, now live in Washington. They are taking, but one is finishing her bachelor's, the other is finishing her master's online. That is why I do what I do. That is the art that I draw upon when I am saying, how do I leverage resources? How do I make sure that there is not another person who is put in the situation that my mother was put in because of some resources that I can leverage? So really, there are technical things that you can do when it comes to OER and leveraging resources. But really, if you want to get to the art of this, to what's really important, go down deep and ask yourself, why am I doing what I'm doing? What brought me into education in the first place? What brought me into higher education? Why do I stay? And all the other stuff you can learn, the science you can learn. The art comes from within you. And let's all find and nurture that art. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Dr.
Thank you very much, Dr. Piña, for your words, very kind words. So at this time, I would like to recognize your participation, and let's get an award for you. Let me just read what it says here. So it's presented to Dr. Piña in recognition and participation of his contribution to keynote speaker at the 3rd Annual Excellence in Online Learning Conference, The Art of Leveraging Resources, March 1st, 2019. Thank you. I guess we didn't have any Q&A session. I don't know if there's any questions, any concerns, or any something that you would like to share. That's your microphone. Yes. It's called the catch box, so you can throw it and someone else can catch it. There you go.
I approached our CFO with that same question because for years they said, well, you can't go to the OER because the bookstore has been a cost center and all of that. And I said, tell me about this. I said, what has been our net profits from our bookstore over the past several years? And he showed me. And it looked like this, going down. Because so many of our students were using Amazon, Chegg, renting, borrowing, because the books were so expensive. And so they said, well, actually we're reaching the point where the other merchandise is becoming more profitable. And I said, okay, well, I don't want to kill the bookstore, but when we have a situation that's going this way, now, I'm not an accountant, I'm not a finance guy, but it seems to me that if it's going this way, that's not a good long-term strategy for fiscal success. And so counting on that as a strategy for fiscal success probably should put our efforts in another place. And ultimately, what is the effect on our students? And whenever people ask, how do you get faculty buy-in on innovation and technology and distance learning and OER and all of that? And I said, they said, oh, that's a big problem. We have this problem with our faculty. And I said, no, you don't have a problem with your faculty at all. You have a leadership problem. What is that? I said, because if you convince the faculty that it is best for the students, the faculty will respond. Because higher ed faculty are all about students and student-centered. And so if you say, okay, this is, now, textbooks and all the add-ons are real comfort food. Because they give you the PowerPoint, they give you the text. But again, faculty don't know how shallow this is. When you start doing this OER, yes, there's some investment, and there's some learning, there's some professional development. Boy, everyone I know who does this is having fun with it. They said, I'm having more fun with my teaching than I have in years because I'm not so married to the textbook. And I can use this. And there are now hundreds of free textbooks. You don't even have to use the textbooks. A lot of our grad programs, they just have students go to journal articles and do this. Because part of the challenge with textbooks is the same thing in our computer science and information technology. So the problem is we get textbooks, the information's already formed. I don't envy anyone who has to write in the field of information technology and then wait for 3 years for it to come out of print.
Okay, so I have a question. We were talking about science.
Yeah.
Okay, some of us teach in biology or in science.
Absolutely.
And we're doing the OER.
Oh,
There are
I was
areas
gonna throw that at you.
reviewing the OERs that are currently, we have a gap between simulation, virtual reality, et cetera, between sciences and textbooks.
And probably between introductory sciences and more advanced. And that is absolutely that's absolutely a real occurrence. We're still in the infancy of this OER. is really the best. We have a lot of academic departments that will not consider anything other than Cengage, because we've been using Cengage for, 15 years. And so whatever the new Cengage is, we buy it. I said, well, how do you know that Pearson doesn't have one that's better, that's less expensive? And how do you know that there isn't something available free and open that isn't better and far less expensive? And so, thankfully, one of the biggest problems that has been identified in the literature for OER, lack of faculty knowledge. This year was the first year where the knowledge of faculty regarding OER has gotten into double digits. So that's why this conference is so wonderful, to bring this level of knowledge. It needs to happen all over.
Dr. Piña, I guess one of the questions from faculty will be where we can find those resources, those open educational resources, either for science, arts, or any other. So I don't know if you want to talk about the
Yes.
handout.
If you open up your thing, you will see a list of
The orange folder, yes.
the orange folder. You will see a list of about 50 links to free and open textbooks, video materials, learning objects, audio speeches, free royalty-free music, royalty-free images, all kinds of stuff that that has been curated, and a lot of this is peer reviewed. But let me give you two in here where you start. One is called Merlot, M-E-R-L-O-T. This is a site. Do I really need this? This is a site that is, because I have 6 children. This is a site that is a peer-reviewed site that faculty can submit things to. And it has this marvelous search engine that you can tell it exactly what you're looking for. If you're looking for simulations, if you're looking for level college, freshman college level versus grad school, and all of this other stuff. So you start there, and OER Commons, because both of them have great search engines. But I can pretty much guarantee you that in almost every discipline offered by the universities that we cover, that in this list you're going to find multiple things. It might not be everything that you're quite looking for if you're looking for a really highly sophisticated and focused simulation, but you never know. You never know.
Any other question?
Okay. I want.
Let's see, let's test this out. They tell me it has to be this close.
Oh, okay.
Yes?
All right.
Yes.
Oh.
My question has been going through training to teach online. We have been going through training for quality matters. So tell me if this, open education resource, do we have also to go to training? I'm not, oh my God, it's from CDL. If we need to do training to develop our courses, I would be the first one asking, I need to do that. Is there training required, or just me as a faculty, I need to do that?
Well, let me snitch on some people.
Uh-oh.
In September, I was graciously invited to here to train a group of people in OER. The one that I did, the workshop I did yesterday, kind of double or triple that. And the idea behind it was supposed to be a train the trainer kind of thing. So, whether training is required, that is a university policy, and I have absolutely nothing to do with that. But I do know that you have people here who have a very high level of knowledge about this OER and are certainly qualified to train. come to the 1:30 session on OER, if that. Yes, the saddest thing yesterday, one of the people who were at the workshop, and they said, well, I have to get back to Brownsboro right after the second session, so I'm going to miss your keynote speech. And I said, well, the sad part about that is that there's going to be a delicious lunch, and you're going to miss lunch. So,
Just to elaborate a little bit more, there is a project going on. I know Dr. Brownlow is going to talk about that in his presentation. That is happening it will start in about 10, 15 minutes. So I guess we're just in time for the afternoon breakout sessions, just to get ready. Yeah, 2 more sessions in the afternoon, and then we're going to come back here and do the closing remarks and knowledge, and also the last 2 $50 door prize from Amazon. All right. So I'll see you back here at 3:30. Thank you.